Observer Kexnal stared at the holographic display, his crystalline eyes reflecting the pulsing warning signals. The Myriax Science Council had assigned him to this remote sector expecting nothing but routine stellar decay readings. Instead, he'd found something impossible. "Central Command, this is Observer Kexnal," he transmitted, his voice crackling with barely contained excitement. "I'm detecting artificial quantum signatures from Sol 3. They've done it. They've actually done it." The humans had achieved what the Myriax, with all their advanced technology, had failed to accomplish. They had learned to stabilize a star. Within hours, the observation post transformed into a hive of activity. The Myriax High Council's fastest ships emerged from quantum space, their crystalline hulls gleaming against the backdrop of Earth's solar system. Among them was Commander Versailles, her faceted form carrying the weight of their civilization's future. "Show me everything," she ordered, moving with practiced efficiency through the cramped observation post. Her assistants immediately began interfacing with the station's systems, their crystalline appendages merging with the control surfaces. Kexnal brought up the data streams. The humans call it the Helios Array. It's a network of quantum resonators in their star's corona, capable of modulating fusion reactions at the core level. They've perfected it over just 3 generations. 3 generations? Versaine's crystalline structure pulsed with disbelief. "We've been working on stellar preservation for 20,000 cycles." She studied the technical readouts, her form shifting colors as she processed the implications. "And their implementation is elegant. Simple, even. We've been overcomplicating it all this time." Their own star, Meridian Prime, had perhaps 50 cycles left before total collapse. Already, their outer colonies were being evacuated, billions of Myriax abandoning ancestral homes as radiation levels became unsurvivable. This discovery could save their entire civilization. "We've detected an approaching vessel," one of Versaine's assistants announced. "Human origin. Research classification." Perfect timing, Versaine's color shifted to deep purple, a sign of intense focus. "Prepare for first contact. And remember, we cannot reveal our desperation. We must appear as equals, not supplicants." The human ship, Solar Seeker, was smaller than Myriax vessels but displayed an aesthetic efficiency that impressed even Versailles. As it docked with the observation post, Kexnal found himself fascinated by its organic curves, so different from the crystalline geometry of their own designs. Dr. Elena Rodriguez emerged from the airlock with confident grace, her dark eyes taking in the alien environment with scientific curiosity rather than fear. "I'm the lead architect of the Helios Array," she announced, her universal translator converting her words into crystalline harmonics. "We've been tracking your energy signatures for weeks. Thought it was time we introduced ourselves properly." Versailles performed the formal greeting sequence, her crystalline form refracting light in the traditional patterns of peace. "We are the Myriax Collective. Your achievements in stellar engineering have captured our attention." What followed was the most engaging scientific discussion of Kexnal's career. Dr. Rodriguez explained how humanity had developed their solar stabilization technology out of necessity when their sun showed early signs of instability. The breakthrough came from quantum resonance theory, something the Myriax had dismissed centuries ago as too unstable. "The key was understanding that stars aren't just nuclear furnaces," Dr. Rodriguez explained, sketching diagrams on her tablet. "They're quantum systems on a massive scale. Once we accepted that, the solution became obvious." As she spoke of sharing the technology, of helping other civilizations achieve the same capabilities, Kexnal noticed Versaine's color shifting to deep red, a warning sign he'd learned to recognize over his years of service. Later, after Dr. Rodriguez returned to her ship to compile technical data for sharing, Versailles gathered her command staff. "The humans are naive," she declared. "Their facility is vulnerable. We take it tonight." "Commander," Kexnal protested, his own form pulsing with distress. "They're offering to help us freely. Why risk conflict? Because we cannot trust our civilization's survival to their goodwill, Versane snapped. What if they change their minds? What if they demand something we cannot give? The Helios Array is the key to our survival, and we will secure it by any means necessary. The tactical display showed the assault plan. 3 Myriax warships would emerge from quantum space near the array. Special forces would neutralize the human crew and secure the technology. Quick, clean, efficient. And completely wrong. Kexnal retreated to his quarters, his crystalline form vibrating with moral conflict. The attack would begin in 6 hours. 6 hours to decide if he would betray his people or his conscience. His personal console chimed. Dr. Rodriguez's face appeared on the screen. Observer Kexnal, I need to speak with you privately. He glanced nervously at his door. This isn't a good time, Doctor. Your star is dying, she said bluntly. We've analyzed the long-range data. You have maybe 50 cycles left. Less, if the decay accelerates. She paused, her expression softening. We want to help. Real help, not just sharing technology. But we need to trust each other. Tell me, what is Versane planning? Kexnal's form shifted through a rainbow of colors as he faced the most important decision of his life. The future of 2 civilizations hung on what he would say next. Kexnal's crystalline form pulsed with rapid color changes as he made his decision. They plan to take the Helios Array by force, he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. Tonight. Dr. Rodriguez's expression remained carefully neutral, but her fingers tightened on her tablet. How many ships? 3 warships. Special forces. They'll quantum jump directly to the array's coordinates. Kexnal's form settled into a deep blue of resignation. I'm sorry. We're desperate. Our civilization is dying. I know, she replied softly. That's why we've already prepared a defense grid. Kexnal's colors froze in shock. You knew. We suspected. Dying civilizations rarely think rationally. She stood, her tablet displaying a complex series of energy signatures. What you detected as minimal security was a facade. The Helios Array is protected by quantum-linked defensive systems. Any unauthorized attempt to access it would trigger a cascade failure that would destroy the technology completely. The implications hit Kexnal like a solar flare. Versane's attack would accomplish nothing except possibly starting an interstellar war. Dr. Rodriguez's eyes softened. But you chose to warn us. That means something. Before Kexnal could respond, his console erupted with alerts. 3 Myriax warships had appeared in normal space, hours ahead of schedule. Versane's voice filled the observation post. Begin the operation. For the survival of our people. No. Kexnal's cry came too late. The warships were already moving toward the Helios Array, their weapons charging. Dr. Rodriguez was already moving. Solar Seeker, Emergency Protocol Omega. Transmit to Earth Command, Stellar Shield active. She turned to Kexnal. Your commander just started a countdown she can't stop. Unless. Unless what? Unless you help me convince her to stand down. Rodriguez's face was grim. You have about 15 minutes before our automated defense systems reach the point of no return. Across the solar system, alarms blared as humanity's defense grid awakened. Quantum-linked satellites emerged from stealth fields, their weapons tracking the Myriax vessels. On Earth, military commands went to high alert, and deep space sensors detected more Myriax ships emerging from quantum space at the system's edge. On the observation post's main display, Versane's face appeared, her crystalline features set in patterns of absolute determination. Do not interfere, Observer Kexnal. This is the only way. You're wrong, he replied, his colors shifting to the formal patterns of challenge. Commander, the humans have quantum-linked their defensive grid to the array. Any attack will destroy what we came to take. He's telling the truth, Rodriguez interjected. But it's not too late to change course. We want to help you, we always did. But it has to be as partners, not enemies. Versane's form flickered with conflicting colors. You expect me to trust the fate of my civilization to your goodwill? No, Rodriguez replied. I expect you to trust the evidence of your own sensors. Scan the array. See the quantum linkages for yourself. Then make your choice, partnership or mutual destruction. Tense minutes passed as Versane's ships conducted their scans. Kexnal watched the countdown on Rodriguez's tablet tick inexorably toward 0, each second feeling like a lifetime. Finally, Versane spoke, her form now showing the deep green of uncertainty. The scans confirm your claims. But how can we be sure you won't use this power against us? Because we've been where you are, Rodriguez said quietly. 50 years ago, our star began to die. We faced extinction. But instead of turning against each other, we came together. Every nation, every faction, working as one to save our world. She stepped closer to the display. We built the Helios array not just to save ourselves, but to ensure no other civilization would face what we faced alone. Versane's form shifted through a complex series of colors Kexnal had never seen before. Stand down, she ordered finally. All ships, power down weapons and maintain position. The tension in the observation post eased slightly, but Kexnal could sense this was only the beginning. As Rodriguez sent the abort codes to Earth's defense grid, he noticed her hands were shaking slightly. Your people will need convincing, she said to Versane. So will mine. There will be those on both sides who see this as weakness. Then we must prove them wrong, Versane replied, her form settling into the formal patterns of negotiation. Observer Kexnal, you will serve as witness to these proceedings. Your courage in speaking truth may have saved both our peoples. As the formal diplomatic channels opened between Earth and the Myriax Collective, Kexnal found himself studying Dr. Rodriguez. She caught his gaze and smiled slightly. You're wondering if we really would have destroyed the array, she said quietly. The thought had crossed my mind. The countdown was real. The destruction protocols were real. But there was something I didn't tell Versane. She showed him her tablet, displaying a complex series of equations. We've already developed a way to rebuild it, better than before. Sometimes the only way to build trust is to be willing to sacrifice everything for it. Kexnal's form shifted to the deep gold of revelation. As the negotiations began in earnest, he realized that perhaps the humans had more to teach them than just stellar engineering. Perhaps they held the key not just to saving their star, but to transforming their civilization itself. 3 days into the negotiations, everything fell apart. The quantum alerts came simultaneously across every sensor in the system. Massive ships were emerging from quantum space, far larger than the initial Myriax vessels. Kexnal's form pulsed with recognition and dread. The Myriax High Command, he whispered to Rodriguez. They've come themselves. The new arrivals dwarfed the observation post, their crystalline structures creating cascading rainbows across the viewport. Supreme Commander Zixvora's transmission cut across all frequencies, her form displaying the aggressive reds and blacks of military authority. Commander Versane, you have failed in your mission and violated direct orders. The human facility will be secured immediately. This is not a negotiation. Dr. Rodriguez's fingers flew across her console, but Kexnal could see the resignation in her eyes. The High Command ships had already established a quantum barrier around the Helios array, cutting off its connection to Earth's defense grid. They planned this, Rodriguez said quietly. Used the negotiations as cover to analyze our defenses and find a way through them. Versane's image appeared on a secondary display, her form showing patterns of conflict. Supreme Commander, the humans have offered to help us freely. This action is unnecessary. You have been compromised by human deception, Zixvora interrupted. The array will be secured and its technology extracted. The humans cannot be trusted to share it properly. Kexnal watched in horror as the massive ships moved into position. Their weapon systems made Versane's earlier attack force look primitive by comparison. Dr. Rodriguez, your defense systems won't be enough against that level of firepower, she finished grimly. But they don't know about our backup plan. She opened a secure channel to Earth. Control, initiate Protocol Omega. Authorization Rodriguez 7 Delta 9. The effect was immediate and stunning. The Helios array began to pulse with energy, but not in the expected pattern of self-destruction. Instead, waves of quantum resonance spread outward, washing over the Myriax ships. Where they touched, the crystalline hulls began to vibrate in sympathy. What are you doing? Zixvora demanded, her form showing the first flickers of uncertainty. Showing you why we chose to share our technology freely, Rodriguez replied. Those resonance waves. They're carrying the complete schematics for the array, encoded in a format your crystalline technology can directly absorb and understand. We're giving you everything, not because we have to, but because it's the right thing to do. The data transfer was overwhelming. Kexnal could see the knowledge flooding through the Myriax ships, their crystalline structures glowing with new understanding. The quantum equations, the resonance theories, the implementation details, everything the Myriax needed to save their star was being freely given. But Zixvora's response was unexpected. You dare to contaminate our ships with your technology without permission? Her form shifted to deep crimson. This is an act of aggression. All ships, prepare to. She was cut off by a new transmission, this one from Earth itself. The holographic figure that appeared was Admiral Helena Chen, her uniform bearing the insignia of Earth's combined space forces. Supreme Commander, Chen's voice was cold. Perhaps you should scan your own star before making any hasty decisions. A moment of confusion crossed Zixvora's patterns before urgent reports began flooding in from Meridian Prime. Kexnal saw the data himself and his form nearly shattered in shock. While the High Command had been focused on Earth, a small human expedition had reached the Myriax home star. They weren't attacking, they were installing a prototype resonance array. Impossible, Zixvora whispered. The distance, the time. We've had quantum-fold technology longer than you think, Chen replied. We could have deployed this months ago. Instead, we waited, hoping for peaceful contact. Even now, that array is inactive, awaiting your permission to begin stabilizing your star. The choice is yours, war or cooperation. The observation post fell silent as Zixvora's form cycled through patterns of confusion, anger, and finally, something approaching humility. The tactical displays showed the Myriax weapons powering down, the aggressive posture of their ships relaxing. Why? Zixvora asked finally. Why help us after we threatened you? Rodriguez stepped forward. Because 50 years ago, we nearly destroyed ourselves fighting over our own solar stabilization technology. We learned the hard way that survival depends on more than just technical solutions. It requires a fundamental change in how we think about civilization itself. Kexnal watched as understanding rippled through the Myriax fleet, their crystalline forms shifting to new patterns he had never seen before. The humans hadn't just solved the problem of dying stars, they had found a way to force evolution in how species interact with each other. But even as the immediate crisis seemed to ease, his sensors detected a new anomaly. Both the Helios array and the prototype at Meridian Prime were showing unexpected readings. Something about the interaction between the two systems was creating quantum resonance patterns that neither species had predicted. Rodriguez saw it too. Her face paled as she studied the data. This wasn't supposed to happen, she muttered. The quantum fields are linking across interstellar space. If we don't stabilize them soon. She didn't need to finish. Kexnal could see it in the numbers. They had just created a connection between two stars that could either save both civilizations, or destroy them both in ways they had never imagined possible. The quantum resonance between the stars pulsed like a heartbeat across interstellar space. In the observation post's main chamber, human and Myriac scientists worked side by side, their earlier hostility forgotten in the face of potential catastrophe. The quantum link is strengthening exponentially, Dr. Rodriguez announced, her holographic displays showing cascading waves of energy between the two solar systems. At this rate, we have less than 48 hours before both stars become permanently entangled. Quetzalcoatl's crystalline form shifted through analytical patterns as he processed the data. The resonance is creating a feedback loop. If one star destabilizes, it'll take the other with it, Rodriguez finished. And the quantum connection means we can't just shut down one array without affecting the other. We either solve this together, or both our civilizations fall. Supreme Commander Zixvora's form had settled into the deep purple of focused concentration. Our quantum physicists are reporting similar findings. The link appears to be self-reinforcing. Each attempt to dampen the resonance only seems to strengthen it. Admiral Chen's hologram nodded grimly. Like trying to break a rope by pulling it tighter. We need to think about this differently. She turned to Rodriguez. Elena, what if we don't fight the resonance? What if we use it? Rodriguez's eyes widened as she caught the Admiral's meaning. Turn the bug into a feature. It's risky, but it might be our only option. Her fingers flew across her console, bringing up new simulations. If we could synchronize the arrays perfectly, match the resonance frequencies exactly, we could create a stable quantum bridge between the stars, Quetzalcoatl finished, his form brightening with excitement. Use each star's stability to reinforce the other. But Zixvora's patterns showed concern. The power requirements would be enormous. We would need to divert energy from our planetary defense systems, leave our worlds vulnerable. We'll have to do the same, Chen admitted. And there's more. This level of stellar engineering will be creating something unprecedented. A permanent link between our civilizations, whether we want it or not. The implications hung heavy in the air. Success would mean more than just saving their stars, it would irreversibly bind their species together. Failure would mean mutual extinction. There's another problem, Rodriguez said quietly. The synchronization has to be perfect. A miscalculation of even a fraction of a percent could trigger a cascade failure. We need more processing power than either of our species has available. Quetzalcoatl's form shifted to the gold of inspiration. But what if we combined our computational systems? Myriac's crystalline processors working in parallel with human quantum computers? Is that even possible? Chen asked. Unknown, Zixvora admitted. Our technologies evolved along completely different paths. The interface challenges alone. We have to try, Rodriguez insisted. She turned to Quetzalcoatl. Your crystalline technology, it can adapt, learn new patterns, right? What if we created a hybrid system, let it evolve its own interfaces? The next 18 hours were a blur of desperate innovation. Human engineers worked to modify their quantum processors while Myriac's technicians carefully grew new crystalline matrices designed to interface with alien technology. Both species pushed the boundaries of their science, driven by the ever-present countdown to catastrophe. Quetzalcoatl found himself working closely with Rodriguez, their different approaches to problem-solving surprisingly complementary. Where human intuition hit walls, Myriac's crystalline logic found paths forward. Where Myriac's traditional methods failed, human creativity suggested new approaches. Look at this, Rodriguez said suddenly, pointing to a complex pattern emerging in their hybrid system. The crystalline matrices aren't just interfacing with our computers, they're creating entirely new computational architectures. It's like they're learning from each other. Not just learning, Quetzalcoatl observed, his form pulsing with excitement. They're evolving. becoming something neither of our species could have created alone. The hybrid system grew more sophisticated by the hour, developing solutions that surprised both species. But as the deadline approached, a hard truth became clear: even with their combined technology, they couldn't generate enough power to synchronize the arrays safely. "We need something to bootstrap the process," Rodriguez explained to the gathered leaders. "A massive energy surge to initiate the synchronization, before the hybrid system can take over and maintain it." "Where would we get that much power?" Chen asked. Zixvora's form shifted to the deep blue of revelation. "Our quantum fold drives. If we detonated them in precisely the right pattern between the stars, the energy release would be enough," Rodriguez agreed. "But the timing would have to be perfect. A millisecond too early or late. And we'd trigger the very cascade we're trying to prevent," Kexenal finished. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They would have to commit their most powerful weapons, their fastest ships, to an all-or-nothing gamble. Success would mean salvation. Failure would mean they'd actively cause the disaster they were trying to prevent. "How many ships would we need?" Chen asked quietly. Rodriguez looked at her calculations, then at Kexenal's additional data. 7. 3 human, 4 myriacs. And, they'd have to be manned. The reactions have to be monitored and adjusted in real time. We can't do it remotely. 7 crews, Zixvora's patterns showed deep concern. 7 crews who would almost certainly not survive the energy release, even if we succeed. "I'll go," Kexenal said immediately, his form steady and resolved. "My experience with both species' technologies makes me a logical choice." Rodriguez stood straighter. "Then I'm going too. We started this together. We'll finish it together." As the others began to debate the details, Kexenal noticed something odd in the hybrid system's displays. The patterns it was generating, they weren't just solutions to their current crisis. The system was already looking beyond, showing possibilities neither species had imagined. If they survived the next 24 hours, the future would be very different than anything they had planned. 7 ships hung in the void between 2 dying stars, their crews making final preparations for what could be humanity and the Myriax's last desperate act, or their first great collaboration. From the bridge of the human vessel Quantum Dawn, Dr. Rodriguez watched the massive energy waves pulsing between the solar systems, their power growing with each passing moment. Beside her, Kexenal's crystalline form shifted through calculations faster than any human computer could process. "Final diagnostics complete," he announced, his patterns showing both determination and acceptance. "The hybrid system is ready. All ships report quantum fold drives primed for synchronized detonation." Rodriguez looked at the crew manifest one last time. 28 humans and 35 myriacs had volunteered for what was almost certainly a suicide mission. The best minds of both species, working together to save billions. "All ships, this is Control," Admiral Chen's voice came through clearly despite the quantum interference. "You have final authorization. May whatever powers exist in this universe watch over you all." Supreme Commander Zixvora's transmission followed, her form displaying the formal patterns of blessing. "Your sacrifice will be remembered in the crystalline archives for all time, whatever the outcome." Rodriguez took a deep breath, looking at the hybrid interface they'd created. The merged human Myriax technology pulsed with its own kind of life, showing possibilities that stretched far beyond their current crisis. "All ships, begin final countdown. Quantum fold drives to critical in 10 minutes. As the countdown proceeded, Kexenal turned to her. "Elena, there's something you should see." He directed her attention to a subtle pattern in the hybrid system's output. The system isn't just calculating the energy release. It's predicting something else. Rodriguez studied the data, her eyes widening. These patterns, they're showing potential quantum states after the detonation. But that should be impossible. The energy release would destroy any sensor capable of reading them. Unless, Kexenael's form brightened with sudden understanding, the hybrid system isn't predicting the future, it's shaping it. The merged consciousness of our technologies is creating new possibilities, new laws of physics. Before Rodriguez could respond, the ship's AI announced, 2 minutes to critical. All personnel to emergency stations. The 7 ships moved into their final positions, forming a perfect geometric pattern between the pulsing stars. The quantum resonance had grown so strong that reality itself seemed to waver between them. 1 minute, the AI continued. Quantum fold drives at 90% critical. Rodriguez looked at her friend, the alien who had chosen truth over loyalty, cooperation over conflict. Kexenael, if this doesn't work. It will work, he interrupted, his form showing absolute certainty. But not in the way we planned. Look. The hybrid system's displays had erupted with new information, patterns so complex they defied understanding. The quantum resonance between the stars wasn't just linking them, it was creating a new kind of space between them, a reality that followed different rules. 30 seconds to critical. Elena, Kexenael's voice was urgent, we need to modify the detonation sequence. The hybrid system isn't trying to stop the resonance, it's trying to stabilize it at a higher level of reality. Rodriguez's fingers flew across the controls, trusting both her scientific training and her intuition. All ships, emergency protocol override. Uploading new detonation patterns now. 15 seconds. The other ships acknowledged, their systems synchronizing with the new data. Human and Myriax technology working in perfect harmony, guided by something that had evolved beyond both. 10 seconds. Whatever happens, Kexenael said, his form showing the deep gold of friendship, it has been an honor. 5 seconds. The honor was mine, Rodriguez replied, smiling. Detonation. The universe changed. The quantum fold drives detonated in perfect sequence, their energy merging with the resonance between the stars. But instead of forcing the systems apart or destroying them, the release created something new, a quantum bridge stable at a level of reality neither species had imagined possible. Both stars stabilized, their quantum states linked not just in space but in possibility. The hybrid system had evolved into something that could maintain this new reality, a merger of human creativity and Myriax precision that transcended its origins. And impossibly, beautifully, the 7 ships survived. Hours later, as the combined fleets of both species gathered to study what they had created, Rodriguez and Kexenael stood in the observation post where their journey had begun. The quantum bridge is stable, Rodriguez reported to the assembled leaders. Both stars are not just preserved, they're evolving together, creating new elements, new possibilities. The hybrid system suggests this is just the beginning. Our civilizations are linked now, Admiral Chen observed. Not just by choice or treaty, but by the very nature of what we've created. Perhaps that was inevitable, Zixvora's form showed the patterns of deep wisdom. Not because we were forced together by crisis, but because together we could achieve what neither of us could alone. Kexenael studied the displays showing the quantum bridge between the stars, its existence defying everything he had once believed possible. We came looking for a way to save our stars, he said quietly. Instead, we found a way to transform them, and ourselves. Rodriguez nodded, watching the new patterns of reality shimmer between the solar systems. The hybrid system is already showing us more possibilities, ways to extend the bridge, to include other stars, other civilizations. We've created more than a solution to our crisis. We've created a future. As human and Myriax ships began joint patrols of the quantum bridge, as scientists from both species worked to understand what they had created, as two civilizations began the complex process of becoming something greater than the sum of their parts, Kexenael's form shifted to a new pattern, one that had never existed before, one that spoke of hope and wonder and endless possibility. The stars pulsed in harmony, their light reaching across space to touch worlds that would never again face their challenges alone. In the end, it wasn't just technology that had saved them, but the choice to trust, to cooperate, to evolve together.